How you doing, folks? We're back, and this time around, we're going to do a little Q&A. I'm going to answer some questions some of you folks asked not too long ago here. I put out a video asking for questions if that is something you cared about, and some of you were very kind, took some time out of your day and sent me a few questions. There's not a ton of them here, but there's some I can probably ramble on about a bit. And also, if you're watching this, you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit a like button. Go click the bell. All that good stuff. I've been seeing a jump in subscribers lately, probably because everybody's home and bored, and I'm very sorry about that. Believe me, I would much rather be doing something outside of the house at this point. But anyway, first up, questions. Hex asks, here's some questions. What's your favorite format and why? There's a couple of parts to this. My favorite format would be CDs. I hate cassettes, although I appreciate them coming back. I didn't initially, but I think stuff like Dungeon Synth really works well on the cassette format. You know, demos, it's cool to have demos again, because CDR demos just never really did much for me. But actual cassette tape demos seem to be pretty cool. Vinyl, I love it. I love vinyl. I love the aesthetic. I love the way it looks. I love the way it sounds most times. But for me, it is a matter of luxury to be able to sit down and listen to a whole album uninterrupted. And for that fact, CDs for me are just easier to put on. You can work with them, drive with them, and they just seem to be the most durable and affordable. Well, I guess tapes are pretty affordable, but CDs just seem to be the best. He also asked, do you digitize your collection, and if so, is it for archival or only for listening? I do not digitize my collection. I have an iPod. When I worked for a bigger company, shirt printing company in town, I would digitize a lot of stuff just so I could listen to it at work. And for that matter, for that fact, the iPod, I loved it. I used it a lot. I still use it once in a while, but lately in my own shop, I have my own print shop in my garage. I just have a CD player and a stereo out there. So I find myself not going digital that often, although I have recently rediscovered Bandcamp and started using it kind of the proper way, and it's pretty sick. Last, Zach NA asks, hey Marty, always have enjoyed your channel. Thank you, man. Would love to see your thoughts on some classic albums, especially Tales from the Thousand Lakes by Amorphous or Slaughter of the Soul by At the Gates. Some of the more well-known stuff. First couple Amorphous albums are classic to me. I think Tales from a Thousand Lakes initially freaked me out a little bit because it was a little more streamlined and the keyboards coming in kind of scared me a bit as far as not sure where they were going to go. But yeah, I mean, it's a great album. It's super catchy. I think it's Tommy. His deep, deathly vocals they just sound dried out and like he's dying. It's fucking great. I've always loved that band. Once they started changing, like on Elegy, wow, they kind of lost me for a few minutes. I mean, I ended up appreciating that shit later in life. I got a little less picky and worried about the heavy being Mr. Heavy McHeverson, have to have the fucking cultist shit. Ended up liking it for what it was. It's catchy, proggy rock / metal, but the first two albums are classic. And Slaughter of the Soul, At the Gates, it's fucking great. Classic album. I think a lot of people that want to remain underground say it's crap or whatever just because it influenced so many mall metal, new metal bands, which ultimately is not their fault. And it's the same as if Cannibal Corpse and Suffocation influencing all those brutal death metal bands back in the day. It's not their fault. They're just doing what they do, and if people want to salute and mimic it with their art, then I guess that's just the way it goes. But honestly, Slaughter of the Soul, this is probably going to be piss some people off, but that's, I think, my favorite At the Gates album. I like the early stuff. I mean, The Red in the Skies, Ours is okay, but man, that album always, I hate how Burnout Thomas sounds on that album, and the violin is just weird. It's just a weird album. But anyway, yeah, thanks for the question. Haunted Hobo, congrats on hitting 2,000 subscribers. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. If I do decide to do a Q&A, I would love to know which album artwork you think is best or worst in your collection. Well, that can change from day to day, and I've shown this one before, but this is definitely a contender for one of the worst. Stupid album cover. I mean, really, how does this come through the art department? The band gets it and goes, "Oh, you guys nailed it. Sweet. This is exactly how we envisioned it." Although, this is a great record. This is a favorite of mine. One of the best. Bathory, Blood on Ice. I believe it's a Christian Wallen, a.k.a. Necrolord cover, who is the king of the blue hue covers, the blue tones. But yeah, I mean, this could change. We could dig a million records out of there saying this is the best cover, this is the best cover. I mean, it's all good shit. Thanks for the question. Chad Appel asks, keep them coming. If you were to review a band's entire discography, what band would you choose? I don't know. I'm slowly starting to get back into the reviews again on here. They're a little awkward for me. I feel like I'm a better writer than I am speaker. But I plan on doing, I keep saying, oh my God. I keep saying I'm going to go through the Andy Darris discography of Halloween. So I guess that would be the easy answer. That's coming sooner than later, hopefully. Would be fun to go through the Bathory vinyl or album record collection. It'd be fun to go through the Dark Throne collection. But, you know, that's all stuff that's been done. And I don't know, I'd have to think about it. I'd probably try to pick a band that I thought needed a bit more exposure, although Halloween certainly doesn't need more exposure, but I really like them. And yeah, that's the easy answer, I guess. Eric Irk asks, how about a video where you talk about your most prized possessions and rarities in your collection? Oh, I guess that was a video selection. Prized possessions, I would say the last video I just shot, the 20-ish most meaningful records. A lot of that stuff would be in my most meaningful and my most prized possessions as far as metal goes. You know, the early Creator albums, early Corner albums, Merciful Fate. You know, I've got some records that are worth some money. I've recently sold a couple that were worth a lot of money and ended up buying an amp head out of the deal, which, fuck yeah. But yeah, as far as prized possessions go, I love having my collection. Sometimes I go through those feelings where, why am I doing this? Why do I keep buying stuff? You know, I don't have time to listen to music all the time, and once you get so much, it gets a bit overwhelming. And the only people in this house that really enjoy this is myself, my son, and my wife. They could care less about this music, but or collecting music for that matter. Of course, my wife is a big Duran Duran fan / collector. Used to be anyway. But yeah, I come back and forth on it, but it's nice to know that if I thought, oh, I want to listen to that Gorefest CD or that Pestilence album, I can run down into the bunker and grab it and know that it's there, know that it's not digital, know that it's not corrupted, know that it's going to play when I put it in or put it on the turntable or put it in the tape deck. It's a nice feeling. So, I mean, I guess my whole music collection is a prized possession. It's like one of the things I've continued with for the longest time in my life. As far as, you know, I don't collect a lot of things, but I do collect music. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I enjoy it. Thanks for your question. Vapor9699 asks, about the ins and outs of running a record label, why, how, selecting artists, etc. Do I do it for the love of the music or money? Haha. He puts a LOL after that because he knows that's a crazy. There's no money in this. It's a very much so a labor of love, and Bind Rune has been in existence for, this is the 20th year, and the ins and outs of running a record label. I would say, first off, if you're going to start running a record label, you need to do it in a small boutique type of fashion. You need to like just start a tape label and make it special stuff, or just do something special and stick with it that not everybody's doing. Because, and another thing I would not do, which I can come from experience, is do not finance your record label on a credit card. To be completely honest, that is suicide for a lot of reasons, and it's created a lot of stress over the years. I mean, we're still plugging along, everything's okay, but you know, you're going to end up, after, if you're doing it for a long time, you're going to be dragging behind you a pretty sizable amount of debt that's not fun. But the ins and outs of it, I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, back in the day, I think it was a lot more fun. And honestly, looking back, I always thought that I was, we were 10 or 15 years too late in starting the label. We may have had a bigger foothold, a deeper, made a deeper impression. But I can honestly say, it's been hard, but it's been rewarding. It's been a lot of fun. I've been proud. I mean, just every single album we've put out, I've been proud of. Let's see what other questions here. Yeah, he says, I think people think record label owners are rich. Yeah, I wish I was fucking rich. Trust me, things would be, you would see full page ads in every publication left standing in a lot more in your face type promotion, but we're not, and we're just plugging along, and we're a boutique label, and there's a very strong core group of people that like what we do, and for that I'm endlessly deeply appreciative of it, and hopefully they continue to stick around. We got plans for this year, and just take it year by year, see how it goes. It gets harder and harder and harder. The more that people think that buying digital music is cool, which in this day and age with the pandemic going around, yeah, digital, I've bought digital, and I rarely buy digital. It's still a way to support the artist, but it's hard for labels out there. I'm not going to say and go boo hoo hoo, because stop at any time, and if things got bad I would, but we're still at it, and I appreciate all you folks for sticking around and checking out the bands. I know the bands really appreciate it too. He also asks, you reference goth, darkwave, punk, etc. from time to time, so what are some of the other artists, bands outside of metal that you have a passion for? Goth, I'm a big Fields of the Nephilim fan. I like Sisters of Mercy. I like the overall sound and feel of gothic music. I like Susie and the Banshees. I like old U2, which is, I guess, a guilty pleasure type of band. I'm a big Skinny Puppy fan, Frontline Assembly. Punk, Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys. I don't go as deep as Jason from Get Into It, the channel Get Into It, with your host Jason Hook. But I like a lot of the stuff that came out back in the day. The stuff that was in the public eye more so. It was never like metal for me, where I just completely immersed myself in the genre and kept digging and had to find that new band. With punk, I kind of took what was like the Minor Threats of the world, GBH, those are some of my favorites. The Exploited, a lot of that stuff. The more easy to find bands are definitely okay in my book. Future Ruins, hello, also asks another Byron question. Byron has had some of my favorite bands. Hey, cool, man, thanks. It would be cool to hear a history of the label, how you got started, and the journey until now. I kind of touched on some of it. We started in 2000 with myself and Scott Candy, who used to be a co-editor of Worm Gear Zine. He moved away from here. He used to live here. He moved away from here and went out east to California, and then eventually settled in Portland. He also ran a noise experimental label called Chronic Mind. He wanted to get into more metal, and I always wanted to do a record label. So it was just a way. I mean, been good friends since high school or grade school, and we just kind of started doing it through the mail. You know, he in Portland, myself here, and just kind of doing it. He set the aesthetic. He came up with the logo and the idea for it, and eventually, when he bowed out, you know, I just continued with it, and you know, it's been 20 years, which, holy shit balls, that's a long fucking time for a label like this, you know. We're in our 60s, I think, for as far as releases go, but we're still plugging along, and hopefully going to be able to keep putting out music for you guys. What have been some of the challenges and tribulations along? I've already answered those questions. How has the scene supported you in your efforts? Again, we've had a core group of people that buy everything, which is great, and you know, it seems to be more and more people saying they like and respect the label as we go. So, you know, that it's been a slow and steady incline, maybe a few plateaus, but you know, small increments. We keep moving up, and that's completely awesome with me. I'd rather have it do that than spike and then fucking fall off into the abyss. How did you win over great bands like Fallsrose and other of the staple bands? Friendships, you know, like in Necrolord. I went out east and we set up a table at the last ever Heathen Crusade Festival in Minnesota. And Aaron from Necrolord was there, and he was playing up in the bar area of the venue with a looper and acoustic guitars and just doing instrumentals. And it was such a refreshing change of pace from the, you know, the loud metal happening that it was refreshing. And he came by and he wanted to blow the Black Owl CD, so he traded his debut album Algonquian Mythos for it. On the way home, me and my friend were sick as dog. We got the crud when we were there in Minnesota, and we ended up listening to that Algonquian Mythos CD probably 15 times on the way home. And by the time I got home, I'm like, you know what, I need to call this dude and see if he'd be interested in working with Bind Rune. And he was. You know, I think Fallsrose, they sent in a CDR, and they were friends with Austin, who played drums on the album. Austin from Panopticon, who is now co-owner of the label. And me and Austin were friends, sort of. At that time, we didn't really know each other that well. Did we? I don't know. It's all fuzzy. But it's all like through friendly situations. And, you know, a lot of bands, you know, try to send me emails. Check this out. Check out our band. We're great. We're this, we're that. And unless it's someone I've heard of or have an interest in already, I don't really check them out. Sorry, guys. This has always been kind of us reaching out to people instead of people coming to us. But, you know, you never know. It's just been a bunch of different situations that have all come down to working with these bands. But, you know, again, it's been awesome over the years, meeting new people, becoming friends with them, working with them, help bringing their art to a slightly bigger crowd is rewarding for sure. Aaron Jibbo asks, also, what are your favorite channels to watch? I'm looking for more. I went through my list and put on a list here. There's a bunch of dudes that I used to watch a bunch that aren't doing it anymore, or that don't seem to be doing it anymore, which is a bummer. And I know I'm forgetting some on here, but all these guys show, you know, a good variety of stuff, and, you know, they all have their own personality, which is cool, and their own opinions, which is cool. Some of my favorites are Brain Smasher, Ben, Pat over at Ground Zero Salem, Eric Bauer, who also runs the High Defamation podcast. Definitely check that out. It's on all your pod channel things on your phone and shit. Aaron the Metal Theologian, Get Into It with Jason Hook, The Dark Path with Matt. I just broke my pen. Um, New guy that just started out here a couple months ago is Jurgen Allman. He's fucking awesome. He's a German gentleman, about the same age as me, and he shows a lot of really cool thrash and death metal, and just a fucking huge collection that I can't wait to see more of as he goes along. So yeah, definitely check out Jurgen Allman. Future Ruins. He definitely has a very unique way of approaching his channel. Does a lot of hiking and portrays that in his videos for sure, which is definitely a cool change of pace. Dark Hymns from the Cold North. What's going on, Eli? Mike Seatown. Fucking love you, Mike. You're hilarious and knowledgeable about all sorts of different styles of music, and I really definitely appreciate that. Sir Meatwad, Maze of Torment, Scott Waters. Too Much Metal is Barely Enough from down there in Australia. He's a super passionate dude with a very cool collection. Mark G with a C. Used to be in the band Enchantment. Anybody remember that band? Definitely cool. Big time CD collector. Pete the Guttural Monk. He hasn't posted in a long time, but man, he always had a really good channel. He would go kind of like a year end, all the CDs he bought throughout the year type of thing, and I really appreciated his videos a lot. Rene from Spain, his channel is called Holspa Metal. I'm a big fan of him. Scourge of Vinyl, Brandon. Metal Viking 82. He shows a lot of variety too. Not all of it I'm really into, but it's always fun to see what he gets. He always gets something cool here and there. Travis up in Seattle, Lyricize 17. Super nice dude. He's into, synth and dungeon synth and metal, punk, hardcore. And of course, Classy Lonnie Metal, Classy Lonnie Metal. That guy, I don't think there's a single CD release that comes out that dude doesn't eventually snag, whether it's when it comes out or 10 years later in a grab bag from some label for $5. But yeah, those are some people I watch. I also watch some guitar and effects and guitar people and shit, but whatever. Daniel Asher asks favorite bands, favorite labels, bands you should listen to, favorite black metal, update on the band. Okay, we'll get to that. Favorite labels. My all-time favorite label is, I've said this a million times on this channel, Noise International. Reading the book to find out that Walter Bach was kind of a jerk. Well, was a jerk. But he had a great label, and he put out some super influential bands in my life and in the metal evolution. He definitely had his finger on the pulse back then, whether it was German thrash or, as he expanded his scope, he always picked up really good bands. Totally respect. And, I tried to model the Bind Ruin aesthetic, the logo and all that stuff after the Noise thing. If you saw the Noise International stamp on it, you knew it was going to be quality, and that's what we've tried to do with Bind Ruin. The early days of Nuclear Blast, early days of Relapse Records, the early days of Earache Records, all favorite labels of mine at the time. Bands you should listen to. People should listen to Manila Road. They should listen to a lot of Manila Road. I know Manila Road might be a little different from some of you dudes that are into the more extreme this or that, but that is good shit. You should listen to Omen. You should listen to Sabaton. I've been listening to, my kid likes Sabaton, so I've got 3 Sabaton CDs that I enjoy. It's definitely metalized pop music, but it's good, fun music. You should listen to Halloween. Any era is good. And yeah, that's all top of my head. Favorite black metal. My favorite black metal is Norwegian black metal. Yes, I love the old school. I love the old style, early Bathory, the early Samael, shit like that. And I guess you could also classify like early Sodom and early Creator as the beginnings of black metal as well. But my favorite black metal is the second wave Norwegian black metal, bands like Hades, Again Shall Be, stuff like that. Emperor, the first 2 Emperor albums are great in the demo. But that's that. Update on the band. Are you guys writing more stuff? For those of you that don't know, I'm also in the band The Glorious Dead. We're an old school death metal band from Traverse City, Michigan. Our debut album, Into Lifeless Shrines, is recorded. It's been mixed and it's been mastered, and I am finishing up the design for it now. Hopefully this year it will be at the plant. Probably in a couple months it'll be at the plant. I'm not sure how everything's going to go with production times now that the plague is ripping across the U.S. But it's a big album. It's heavier and shit, and hopefully you guys are going to dig it. And are we writing more stuff? Yes, we've got 3 new songs, more or less fleshed out. And between myself and TJ in quarantine, he's got like 2 songs written. I've got 1 sort of, and riffs. We just seem to keep churning out riffs. Riffs are out there. You just got to grab them down. So yeah, even though we're not practicing and we missed out on a big show, we are still trying to be productive, even though we don't get to jam every week anymore. Hopefully that'll be changing soon. Canis Dearest, K Todd, what's going on, man? My question would be, the numerous metal gods we all worship, who is the one that you'd like to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation with? Just like hanging out and drinking a beer and talking, or like an interview for something? That would be more pressure. So I'm going to take it as a sit down and have a conversation with. I think King Diamond and Rob Halford, Lemmy, Mark Shelton from Manila Road would have been awesome just to hang out with and talk to, because these are all dudes that have lived and done a lot with their lives and been influential with their music. But aside from all that, they're just interesting people as well. I think it would be just a good time just to sit down and have a few beers and just see what came out. So I guess that's not really that brilliant of an answer, but that would be interesting. Yeah, thanks Todd for the question. Jurgen Allman, hey man, what's going on? My question is, do you have any strange habits listening to music? I, for example, have a stereo in every room of the house, stuff like that. You know what? On that tip, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 full stereos in this house, between the shop and the house. Different places I can sit and listen to music at any time if I wanted to. I don't know if that's weird or not. That, I think, is just one of those things. You start acquiring speakers and electronic gear the older you get, and you start hitting like thrift stores and shit. Oh, good, another CD player. Oh, here's a $10 receiver. I hope it works. Or, oh, look, a fucking turntable. Sweet. Other listening habits. I used to be big at sitting down and staring at the cover when I was listening to music. That was a big thing. Reading the liner notes. When I was a kid in my bedroom at my parents', going just rifling through the fucking lyrics in the cassette J card as the tape was playing. I don't know if that's weird or not. I think that's probably pretty common. That doesn't happen as much as it used to because life has gotten a lot busier the older you get. There was something else too. I don't know. I can't remember. But I don't know if that's strange or not, but I think I prefer a lot of times listening to music in the car. That seems like where you're focusing on what's in front of you, but you got the music up loud, and it's just a good, it just kind of surrounds you, and roll down that window and just drive, see the scenery and take in the music. It seems to me like the perfect way to really absorb something uninterrupted. Just going on a long trip, just popping in, oh, I'm going to be gone this long. I'm going to take this album and listen to the whole thing while you're out and about. I think that's pretty fucking cool. I don't know if that's a weird habit, but I wish I had more time. Of course, these days I have had a little more time, and I have been listening to more music, which is good. Thanks for your question, man. And the last question I have on this is from Alora Brooks, and she asks, if you're doing a Q&A, I'm curious, were there any bands you passed on or chose not to release on Bind Room that went on to do better than you initially thought? There's been some times in this label's history where things haven't been going so well in my personal life, and it was always a question if it was going to be the label was going to continue or not. And during that time, bands like Woman Is the Earth and the band contacted me and wanted to figure something out, and I just couldn't. I didn't know what the future was going to be, or if there even was, so I had to, politely decline type of situation. And if I even got back to them on that, I don't remember. There'd be times I would just kind of drop off the fucking radar, which sucks, but it's true. I think Woman Is the Earth wanted to be on there for a while, and I drug my feet on that. I ended up loving the stuff the more I listened to it, but that initial window where you need to get back to somebody, I hadn't absorbed it and didn't know. I thought maybe yes, maybe no, I don't know. So it happens. It's happened in the past, but it's never been on anything too much that that went on to go, oh damn it. Yeah, I guess that's it. And thanks for the question. Hope and that's it, really. Not a ton of questions, but it was a good little nest of them, and I didn't want this to get too long anyway. What did we get into here? Half an hour. I rambled for a half hour. That's probably enough. But I just want to thank y'all for chiming in and giving me something to talk about, and hope you enjoy this. Feel free to subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.